Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
Shoplifters, if you're watching the news, if you like to watch the news, here's a warning for you. Your favorite crime is now a felony. The Sac County Sheriff even saying out of 1,000 people arrested this year on these shoplifting crimes, only 8 of them were homeless. So how much will this bill really help?
I think it goes a long way in putting consequence back to what, frankly, since, 10 years ago, Proposition 47 came out, which really took the guidelines and the guardrails off of theft in the stores. So fast forward 10 years, it's obviously a problem. Even as you just said, 70% of the voting public is for this. So it's time that, retailers were allowed to put meat back on the bone and providing consequence to some of these instances of theft. As you see on the video, just walking in, casually taking what you like and then walking out. So it'll take time, as you know, to let this bake in and see if it's really going to make a difference, but it's absolutely a move in the right direction.
And as we mentioned, just setting this up, there are mandatory mental health resources. But one thing that the DA in Sacramento County, at least, has said is that it's been so hard to get people to actually comply with some of those resources. They want to help people who are addicted, they may be fueling their addiction with this theft or at least financing the drugs with this theft. What does California need to do, and what can be done to actually allow for more success instead of recidivism?
I think what's going to matter is following through with the law. In other words, prosecuting, and I think it's up to 3 years now. The felony jail sentences have been extended. So sure, whether you have it being actually deterring that or the rehabilitation through the drug component of this, it's going to take time to see, but it's all up to the state of California and the local municipalities, the district attorneys you just mentioned, to actually push this through and make it visibly consequential in the stores to see if it's actually going to make a difference or not. So I think the jury is kind of still out. Retailers that I've talked to about this are kind of like, okay, let's wait and see. It's certainly a move in the right direction, but we're going to have to wait and see. I don't think we're going to see a stampede of retailers rushing back to California that may have left due to the surge in theft. And more importantly, I know theft's a problem, but is the violence.
Yeah, well, we're seeing some of the videos of that violence now, and you actually already answered my next.
Okay, welcome to another special edition of the Leadership and Success Podcast. We have a very special guest with us right here waiting in the green room. And before I introduce him, as is our tradition here, we want to spend just a moment to be grateful. We are grateful every single time that we meet here. So if you would, maybe close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think about one thing you are grateful for right now. And today I am really grateful for second chances. Right? I am so grateful that in life we don't always do the right thing, but when you fall, you almost always have an opportunity to get back up again, right? Your past doesn't have to determine your future. So I am so grateful for that. So if you would type in the comment and let me know where you are joining us from, what city, what state, and if you are outside of the US, which country, and also what you are grateful for. And if you have a question for my guest, please type it in the comment and we will answer your question live. So let me see if I can properly introduce my guest today. Today, I am really honored and privileged, overjoyed to be speaking to Major Brand Elverston, U.S. Army veteran, retail innovation strategist. That's why I showed you the picture sought after. Sometimes I even speak on newscasts like News Nation about what happened in the world of retail. He's a global speaker, a best-selling author, and spent over 20 years at Walmart Technology Integration, driving asset protection strategy, technology integration, and operational execution at scale. All right, so he's now the founder and principal of Elverston Consulting, where he helps senior leaders navigate the complex intersection of risk mitigation, retail innovation, and disruptive technology. So Brand also serves in advisory role with industry organization, universities, and technology innovator, helping shape the future of retail operation and security. And I just found out we actually have the same alma mater, the University of Alabama. All tied roll. All right, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast, the one and only Major Brand Elverston.
Hey guys,
Good
that's a heck of an
morning.
introduction. Thank you.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you are here. And again, I apologize to everyone. The reason why we went a little bit started a little bit late today is because of me. But I am so glad you are still here and you are willing to talk to us. I guess to get started, Major, as you know, part of the reason why I always start with a moment of gratitude. As you know, in the military, it's about 21, 22 service member and veteran who commit suicide in this country every single day, and I think it's not possible to be suicidal and be grateful at the same time. So, just to get started, Major, what is one thing you are grateful for today?
Being grateful also, in addition to be the most proud professional thing I've ever done, was having the privilege of serving in uniform and
Yes.
being an Army officer. And, I've had that question sometimes in corporate, 22 years in corporate, 12. So I actually had twice the number of years in a suit than boots. And my answer is always the same. I'm like, look, I'm not sorry. I'm most proud of having the
Yes.
privilege of serving in the U.S. Army. So,
Wow. Thank you. It is really amazing, and I know some service members sometimes they don't like to be called a hero. I completely
yeah.
understand that, but in my mind, right, just serving your country even for a day in uniform,
Mhm.
in my mind, that makes you an American patriot and really a hero because you are willing to put your life on the line for all of your fellow Americans. It's less than 1% of us that do that. So I am so grateful for your service, sir. If I was to ask you, what is maybe something about you that most people may not know when they first meet you?
Oh, wow. Started my professional career as a police officer, actually at the
Wow,
ripe age of 18 in Albemarle County, Virginia,
really?
Charlottesville, essentially. And did that for about 18 months. And as most mothers do, they have a different plan. And
Yes.
that was over. And that's when she went to Auburn, interestingly, and I wound up at University of Alabama. And she said, "Look, you can be a police officer, honorable profession, but you're going to do it after you have a 4-year degree."
Wow.
So, yeah, that's one thing I don't share, but it obviously helped make me who I am. So it was a great ride.
Man, I thought that there was an age limit in becoming a police officer. I didn't know you could be a police officer so young. That's pretty
I
incredible.
Well, keep in mind that was 1979. So
Wow.
a little bit different rules, I'm sure, than today.
Yes. Man, to protect and to serve. And how did you end up joining the US Army?
ROTC scholarship competition. So my mom worked at the Judge Advocate General School in Charlottesville. So from as long as I can remember, I had exposure to military, even though it's JAG.
Yes.
I was, when she would babysit me or, she couldn't get a babysitter, I would go and, spend time with her at the office. So I was exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the time came to go to college, as you may know from my first book, single parent household, and money was tight. So the being realistic
Yes.
about going to college, the ROTC scholarship was my path. The interesting twist is I went to basic training at Fort Knox. You showed that picture,
Mm-hmm.
and then went to the University of Alabama. And I was 2 months into the ROTC program at Bama before I was informed I did not get the scholarship. And I was already in
Really?
love with college, ROTC,
Mm.
and I can hear my mom's voice clear as a bell right now. She said, "Baby," because she was from Alabama. She's like, "Baby, don't worry about it. You stay, you study hard, and we'll make it work."
Wow.
So,
Huh, but I thought once you were part of the ROTC program, scholarship was guaranteed. Because I know at UA we had both the Army and the Air Force
right.
ROTC program there.
Yep. No,
It's
not
not.
a guarantee.
Wow. Interesting. Because my story, I was a student at UA, I was 17 years old, and I tried to join the Army ROTC back then, and they're like, no, you can't join, you're not a US citizen. Absolutely not. And then what was strange is because of the assessment I took as a freshman, the very first math class I took was Math 125, which was calculus, which is usually the last class most people take, but it was the first one I did. Very, very easy. Actually, it was just a reminder of everything I did in high school. Anyway, about half of my class, they were all ROTC students, and
Yeah.
they had to have at least a B in the class, and they were struggling so much. So I mentored quite a few of them and helped them pass it. But anyway, just thinking back, quite an interesting story. And then in the army, did you actually choose field artillery, or did the army choose that for you?
The latter. The Army chose it for me. And when I got it, I wanted to be MP when we filled out our dream sheets
Hmm.
as, I guess, MS4
Yeah.
cadets. I wanted to be an MP only because that's what I knew at that point in time. I'd been a
Yes.
police officer. I thought, okay.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
the rationale was you're very good in math, and you've been selected to be regular Army
Hmm.
field artillery. And I didn't know what regular Army versus reserve meant.
Yes.
So I was selected for active duty, and again, zero regrets. Very
Wow.
a great career field, field artillery. I
That
always
is
say it's typically the
awesome.
smarter guys that go to field artillery.
Yes. Wow. That is quite amazing. Like in my path, I knew I wanted to do something with computers, which I ended up doing both enlisted and officers.
Yep.
But now, for those who are listening to us now, there are many veterans who transition into business leadership, after they leave the service or retire. But what were some of the biggest leadership lessons you carried from the military into the corporate world? And you've gone all the way up now to the highest level of the corporate world, especially in the retail industry. What lesson you carried with you?
I think it's those directly transferable skills. And I know a
Yes.
previous guest of yours, Lieutenant General Beagle,
Mhm.
in his book recently published, When the Map Runs Out.
Yeah.
To me, it's character, the discipline of execution. And I got to tell you, yeah, I never struggled with understanding priorities in military service. As a field artillery officer, I understood my most critical number one was
Hmm.
safe delivery of nuclear weapons. Second to that, conventional weapons. And we
Yes.
clearly understood the difference between critical, important, and routine.
Hmm.
And my time in suits, and again, I'm very open about this with them, we never figured that out. Everything was important, therefore nothing's important in my time in
Mm.
the civilian sector. And the old saying, you're probably familiar with it in the Navy, you
Yes.
have a choice. You can do
Mhm.
100 things half, what,
Yes,
or
yes,
you can do 10 things really well.
yes,
You
yes,
pick.
yes.
And so that my learnings are the discipline around execution is really a strength that when you put on
Wow.
a suit that you take for granted, so many things we veterans take for granted when we hang up our BDUs and put on a suit.
Yes.
That discipline around execution, figuring things out with very little guidance,
Mhm.
those types of skills, and of course the character.
Yes.
Um, Characters, that's got to be your balance beam.
It is really amazing, but definitely as an officer, regardless of a branch of the military, leadership is an emphasis. But I've seen since I studied as an E1, right, lowest rank in the entire
Mhm.
military, even as a seaman recruit, I felt like the Navy was preparing me to lead, if nobody
Yeah,
else, influence myself. And
yeah,
it's definitely, I guess, JFK is the one who said there is nothing more rewarding than serving in uniform. He definitely mentioned the U.S. Navy, but I think
absolutely.
any branch of the military
Yep.
for sure. Even if you just do it for like a couple of years and then you go back into
Mhm.
your civilian life. So what I'd like to know, Van Major, is as a field artillery officer, you were responsible for very complex operation and mission execution. I believe you were deployed to Afghanistan as well. What leadership principles from that environment still guide your decisions today?
That's an easy one. Look over your left shoulder.
Yes.
General Colin Powell, his 13 principles of
Yeah.
leadership, I think initially published in 89-ish, but I
Hmm.
really became familiar with those after I'd finished both my commands. I had 2 battery
Ah.
field artillery commands in Germany, and my last assignment was Fort Sill as an
Hmm.
instructor in the gunnery department. And that's when the intensity slowed down a bit, no longer troop
Yes.
driven, alerts and all that, but I was an instructor. And that's when I first became familiar with General Powell's 13 principles of leadership. And
Wow.
that guides me to this day. And the one that I really put my arms around initially was the first one that
Hmm.
I'm gonna paraphrase, but basically, don't panic, sleep on it. It's always better in the morning.
Yes. Yes.
And I have to laugh. That would have been great advice for me to have as a young battery commander in Germany.
Yes.
Um, but Colin Powell, all of his books, My American Journey, those 13 principles of leadership really did sink in when I
Yes.
was,
Wow.
in my transition at Fort Sill. Awesome leader, incredible leader.
That is really, really amazing. My American Journey, that's the first book I read from the general. And I was so fortunate to have met him. I think it was in 2015. I would never
Oh,
forget
wow.
that. It was in Atlanta. And he was the kind of person, even when he just enters the room, it's almost as if the molecular uh, configuration of the room just changes. He doesn't even have to
No,
open his mouth or say a word. It just the charisma. It was just incredible, and it was so humble though when you met him in person with everything he had achieved at the time. He had already been Secretary of State, of course, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, four-star
mhm.
general, and all of that. But he would just treat you like you are the most important person in the room when he was there. It's just incredible. Really, really miss him so much. But that's another reason why we really love books here at Leadership and Success Podcast. And I'm so glad you've already written 2 books, and we're going to be talking about them: Proclivity, and also your latest one, which is quite interesting, Instrument of Ignorance. What got us here will not get us there. We're definitely going to talk about it. But let me ask you, Major. So in the military, we do often talk about clarity of mission and unity of effort,
Mhm.
right? I believe the Navy stole it from the Army. I'm pretty sure. One of our leadership maxim is mission first, people always. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
we got it from the Army. But anyway, how can corporate leaders apply those same principle inside large organizations? For example, you were an executive at Walmart. How would you be able to apply similar leadership principle in a non-military environment?
Yeah, one of the things that a skill, I guess you could call it a skill that I developed early on is I always got my energy and motivation from the soldiers I led.
Mm,
And I know a lot of people would disagree with that statement.
yes,
You have to have energy with your boss and the boss's boss because they're your
yes,
senior raters. And I get that. But in tough times, my litmus test was always the performance of my soldiers.
hmm,
That gave me direct, as you well know, and any veteran knows this, that's unfiltered feedback.
yes,
Soldiers don't PC a lot of what they say. So, I think that authenticity and that open door, again, comparing the two professions,
yes,
suits to boots, It's a bit more of a challenge in the civilian
Hmm.
world. Um, you can tell, I can tell a veteran from a mile away.
Yes.
Just
Does
the way
this?
they carry themselves, their
Yeah.
discipline, their specificity, the brevity. And
And don't forget the haircut. But yes.
yeah. I it's that specificity and being able to have clarity. And again, I'll
Yes.
mention General Beagle again. He's very. I had lunch with him. I don't know, 2 3 weeks ago. Went up to Kansas City to actually meet him, and it's the first time in my life, I'll have to tell you, that I was ever comfortable sitting there for any time with a
Wow.
general officer. Because as you know,
Yeah.
as a subordinate, you want to minimize the time you spend with a general officer. You're there to
Yes.
take notes and execute.
Yes.
And I could talk to him all day long. And
Actually,
so
I
that
am.
authenticity has got to be the headline.
I am pinging him now. I hope he's watching us live. He often does. No, I just met him for the very first time. I guess maybe it was November, I believe,
Hmm.
of last year. But it's as if I've known him my entire life. They are just people like that. The
Yep.
way they lead, they carry themselves. It's like,
Hmm.
wow. When I grow up, I want to be just like him.
Yep.
It's incredible. And no, I still see from time to time. No, now that I'm a commander, some flag officer they kind of want me to call them by their first name, but I just cannot do it. I just cannot.
Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. He's like, Brand, call me Biggs. And I'm like, sir, I cannot do that.
Yes, yes. Always gonna
I
be
can't do it.
by general. It's
Yeah.
really incredible. Like if even O sixes now. I remember because I was and E4, so petty officer third class, when I first met my first O6 mentor. So
Hmm.
he stayed my mentor until now, and then he eventually retired. So now I am able to call him by his first name, but
Yeah.
it was difficult, very very difficult to me.
Yeah.
It's always be captain because it
Yeah.
really means
It's a
something.
measure of respect, the
It
way I
is.
look at it.
It
I
is.
just like, I'm just not going to be comfortable with that. And I'm okay with it.
Uh, But now let's talk about all of the great work you've done in corporate leaderships, especially at Walmart, right? More than 20 years. And you are sought
Mhm.
after the clip I played, even things happening in California and across the country that has to do with retail.
Mhm.
Journalists and TV station seek you out because you are such an expert. Can you maybe tell us over the last 20 years you spent at Walmart helping shape asset protection strategy and technology integration? What were some of the biggest operational challenges you had to solve at that scale?
I think you just said it, solving challenges at that scale. It's not new, from military service when, as a battery commander or a battalion S3 or,
Yes.
higher. Um, it's the ability to ferret out the so what
Mm,
and get to the meat of what you're trying to solve. Because in the corporate world, you're surrounded, at least in my experience, with a lot of really smart engineers
yes.
and statisticians and legal and HR and everybody.
Hmm.
And if you allow it, the narrative can be hijacked, and before you know it, you're walking out of a meeting like, "What are we doing?"
Yes.
And so I think veterans bring, well, I know veterans bring that so what, if you will, to
Hmm.
the table. That after a meeting, all right, so what?
Yes.
What are we doing? Here was our problem when
Wow.
we walked in the room. What are the actions we're taking? Forget all this
Mhm.
other
Yes.
ancillary stuff. What
Yes.
addresses the problem? So
Mm,
that was a challenge, more so after about 2005, '06. Early days at Walmart, I was very comfortable because it was very um, intense.
hmm.
Not a whole lot of bureaucracy, very precise directive from what we called our Norman Schwarzkopf, was our
Yes.
chairman back then. He was very much like that, language and all.
Hmm.
But I was comfortable with that. I knew what he meant. I didn't need, a 38-page PowerPoint and 42 meetings. I knew.
Yes.
Uh, but things get more complicated. Technology introduces sometimes com-
Yes.
uh, complexity.
Hmm.
So that was always the headwind: bureaucracy and staying true to the specific mission that you're trying to accomplish. That's a challenge.
And that is really key. I speak about 8 to 12 times every year, usually security conferences, and many times when I talk and I ask people from Fortune 500 company from all across industry, I ask them, okay, who can tell me what the core values of their organization is? Less than 1% know what
Yeah.
those values are. Whereas not like you, I'm sure I can wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and ask you, hey, soldier, what are the core value of a US soldier? You will recite it just like that. Same
Yep.
thing for me in the Navy. Honor, courage, commitment. I guess you guys in the Army, it's more like 7. Always do extra, right? You soldiers, you always do a little bit extra. But anyway, it's just amazing to me how in the corporate world, even Silicon Valley, they have those posters about what their values are supposed to be. But in reality, the people don't know what those values are, and they don't live by them, right? They don't hire and fire by
Yeah.
those values. They end up just promoting people who bring more money, even though they are not aligned with a corporate value whatsoever, even though they
Yeah.
may not be ethical or have character or any of those things, because they're bringing the money. Those are the people they kind of pay attention to. Which I believe it's really bad for the people in the organization who actually align with those values and
Yeah.
who really prioritize character. So I feel like in the
Mhm.
military and in the industry, that's a very very big difference. And talking about Walmart, isn't it strange? My understanding in Arkansas, right? Sam Walton started with one original store and eventually
Mhm.
pretty much took over the world. Isn't
Yeah.
that just amazing?
Well,
The
Sam Walton, the founder, was a veteran, and I
wow,
think that often is forgotten in the halls of
yes,
Walmart. That
mhm,
when you start talking about veterans and veteran preference and the
yes,
qualities you get when you hire a veteran day
hmm,
one, we're like, wait a minute, this company was founded by a veteran. Sam Walton, I
wow,
believe he was a military intelligence officer in World War II.
that's
Um,
amazing.
so he brought discipline, execution from day one, from his first store, and of course
Wow.
now it's the world's biggest retailer. It's a
That
powerhouse.
is amazing. I didn't even know that. I don't think many people know that he was a veteran. Wow,
Yeah.
so powerful. So, what do you believe separates the leaders who can successfully execute strategy from those who kind of struggle to move ideas into the real world?
I think it's as simple as leadership quality. Um,
Yes.
again, comparing military to civilian, if I were ever asked, where did you find the better quality of leadership? And it was
Hmm.
in uniform.
Yes.
And you speak to culture. Culture is not a slogan, it's what you do every day, all day, even when
Hmm.
people aren't looking. And we never had a problem defining our culture on active duty.
Yes.
And then in the civilian sector. So I think it's the authenticity of leadership. On some podcasts, I've often said, the challenge, I think, in the civilian world is not the quality of the new hires and the
Mm,
college students and those mid-level ranks.
yes.
The crisis is leadership quality at the top, meaning the full circle, and you and I are both familiar with this. Accountability is full circle.
Yes.
It's not, mid-level managers down, it's top down. And all too often we see where military senior leadership are relieved for cause
Mm,
or loss of confidence. And that happens more than it should, but that's where the accountability starts, is
yes.
at the top. So I think it's the pressure is on for authentic leadership, not technical expertise, not
Hmm.
somebody that we hired, from wikidywonk.com that, can
Yes.
accelerate e-commerce and all this stuff. But at every level, the tenets of leadership are going to be tested. And in times of crisis, that's when you find out, do you
Mm,
really have a leader, or do you have a careerist that
yes.
is looking for survival tactics and the right lever to pull to survive what's going on? So
Mm,
I think, well, yeah, it's a challenge. I've
yes.
worked for a lot of great leaders. Most of them were military, a couple of them civilians. But it's very different. You would think leadership's
Yes.
leadership, and it should be,
Hmm.
but it's defined differently in a suit.
Yes. Wow. That that is quite fascinating. But I think most people, most employee, they really know if their immediate supervisor, their bosses are true leaders or not.
Yeah.
If they really truly care
Oh
about
yeah.
them or just
Oh yeah.
the bottom line.
Yep.
You really cannot hide it for very long. But one thing that's quite remarkable with your career, sir, is you've really been known for embracing non-traditional technology solutions. So, how can leaders kind of encourage innovation while still managing risk? How did you do it?
Um, Again, going back to what is your specific problem to solve?
Hmm.
Because let's take artificial intelligence, AI. So even a year ago, I mean, it's cool. Everybody was doing it, whether they were doing it or not. And you'd go
Hmm.
to a conference, and 90% of the courses and the exhibitors are AI something.
Hmm.
Um, Number one, staying true to what specific business problem you're trying to solve. Because
Yes.
what I find is too often we are chasing cool,
Mm.
not something specific to solve a certain pressure point. So once you strip away the coolness and the shiny thing in the room, that's when it distills down to the reality of AI in this specific
Hmm.
case. And leaders that can do that more effectively
Yes.
and without a lot of chaos and noise in the background of, wow, he must be doing something great because he's doing 400 different things.
Yes.
Go
No.
back to execution. What are you actually executing that matters? So
Wow.
it's again, I love General Beagle. It's back to his, specificity and clarity of communication. What is it you're
Yes.
trying to do? And too
Yes.
many people struggle with that.
Well, it looks like you. I asked General Beagle, he needs to pay me to be one of his spokesperson because every chance I have, I talk about him. It looks like you're going to be the second spokesperson for the general. It's
Yeah,
in- incredible, but no, just no, great, fine leaders. You don't see them every day, even
that's right.
in uniform. Though. Again, from my experience, 21 years now in the Navy, most of the skippers I've had have been excellent, but there is always that kind of 1%, and you kind of wonder
Hmm.
how in the world did they get promoted to be a commanding
Yep.
officers. But for the most part, though, my experience has been extremely positive, and it's
Yep.
really amazing how in the military we have a way of forging those leaders and really have people who care about their soldiers, their
Yep.
sailors, their people, and focus on the execution of the mission. Another leadership mantra I like, and I believe we stole that from the army too, is one team, one fight. So
Yep.
that's very important, especially when it comes to this joint world. No, it's not just the Navy, but it's the Navy working with the Army, with the Air Force, with everybody else. And sometimes we
Right.
tend to, protect our own territory. It's kind of us versus them. But the reality is we have one mission under DoD, and we're gonna work together to get it done. And I really, really love that. There is no greater lesson, I think, in leadership than putting your ego on the side and really focusing on the mission and working together to make it happen. It's
Yeah, and
quite
that a
powerful.
great example of that is Afghanistan. So
Yes.
we worked alongside the Germans, the British, the
Yeah.
Italians, the
Yeah.
French, and when we would hear all the static in the news coming across, again, that was 2003, and
Yes.
all of the division among nationalities, who's doing what, and all that, and
Hmm.
we're all sitting there, on the hood of the Humvee in 110-degree heat,
Yes.
and we could not be closer. We
Mm.
understood that together, I don't care that you're French, I don't care
Yes.
that you're German. We capitalized on everybody's strengths, and
True.
it just really punctuated the chasm for me between reality on the ground and
Hmm.
that back home, if you will.
Yes.
That's a gross distortion. We know what we're doing here on the ground, and we don't care what uniform you wear.
Mm.
It's combined arms and focus.
That is so true and such a powerful leadership principle. Let's talk about your latest book for a moment,
Mhm.
Instrument of Ignorance. Why did you believe you had to write this book? Why did this book have to be written?
Um, Current affairs. As you may know, I'm on the leadership board at the University of Alabama.
Mhm.
And actually, I'm going down there Friday for the board meeting. And then I spend a week on campus speaking to various classes and about careers and, the realities of the professional world.
Mhm.
Not, you're awesome, you can be anything you want to be, but look,
Yes.
guys, you better saddle up because it can be tough.
Mhm.
And I immerse myself in the principles of critical thinking and really how in the world have we gotten to where we are today as a
Yes.
society that me being a boomer, I've seen the pre-internet life
Mm,
and I've seen, the blurring now between what's real, what's not. And then when I was growing up, if you were in line at the grocery store and mom was
yes.
checking out with groceries, you saw the tabloids, but somehow instinctively you knew it was garbage.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
would read it and it would say, an elephant gave birth to a human baby and all this stuff. But it was in that moment. And
Yes.
then when you left, it was gone. It was not ubiquitous. Today it
Mhm.
is. And
Yeah.
so
So
really the more I thought about it, I'm like, what is it? What are the underpinnings of this slide of
mm,
our inability? We've lost our way in terms and my
yes.
first chapter in there by design is education. What does that mean? And the
Mm,
importance of critical thinking and being taught how to think, not what to think.
yes.
So spent a lot of time on campus at Bama doing that, and thankfully we've got a great dean, Dean Messina.
Yes.
Um, so in if when people read that, it's like, how in the world in this tumultuous time did you pull off making it apolitical?
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, there's enough of that garbage out there. If you want to listen to all
Yes.
that static, you got the wrong book. I
Yes.
wanted to talk about, and you mentioned it earlier, military service.
Mhm.
I am a firm believer that after high school, 2 or 3 years in uniform or some public higher service, Peace
Yes.
Corps, you name
Yes.
it, I think that would go a long way
Mm,
because, as we all know, the maturity equality of a young man that serves or a young lady that serves, and they get
mhm.
out when they're 22, the emotional maturity more
Yes.
times than not is going to be far beyond that of the one that didn't.
So
So I
true.
think it's a win-win. And General Petraeus, when I
Yes.
did him on a podcast, I don't know, a couple years ago, he agreed.
Yes.
Short of it's not a draft. It's just
Yes.
like the Germans are coming back to. I just got
Yes.
back from Germany. A couple of days ago, and
Mhm.
the Germans are going back to a version of conscription, as you may know, for that reason.
Wow, that is so true, and I think really also when you get to serve again, it doesn't have to be in uniform, but that's what I
Right.
know. You really put others ahead of yourself. It's okay to have personal ambition. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, but when you think about how you can be of service to others, I think it was Zig
That's
Ziglar,
right.
right, who said, "If you help enough people." Get what they want, you pretty much don't have to worry about a thing because you will get absolutely everything
Yep.
you want and more. Just that notion of
Yep.
service. Oh, it looks like the general is here. He says this is awesome that you are on with brand. All right, so we're
Hot
gonna
dog.
need the general to increase his budget for you and me as the spokesperson. But good to see you, sir. Yeah, it is, and by the way, I'm always I may seem a little distracted at time, but I'm always monitoring what comes on the chat, especially YouTube and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I started this about 5 years ago, right? I was talking to myself, and that's it. Nobody was listening, and now I actually get a chance to speak to
Yeah.
people all around the world. If they have something to say, I definitely want to highlight that. Now, before I talk briefly about your second book, which message do you believe leaders, as they read this book, what is the main message of the book? What do you want them to uh, go away with?
A sense of perspective. Um, and after I just spent those 10 days in Germany, I went to Dachau. Of course, I was there back in the 90s
Mhm.
when I was stationed there. And my perspective, really, my experience in Afghanistan absolutely shattered
Mm,
my sense of perspective of life in a good way.
yes.
And I think the message is, and the tagline is what got us here will not get us there.
Hmm.
Um, I think there is a huge deficit in leadership that understanding the broader picture. So specific to our conversation,
Yes.
1945 forward. how did we get to be the most powerful nation on the planet? How
Mm,
did we get to be the leaders of democracy after World War II in a
yes.
world order we designed?
Hmm.
And the more I see of activities, and not just in this last couple of years, but over the last 10 or 12 years, um, really an absence of those same elements of history coming back.
Yes.
Different form, different names, different dates, but very similar. And I'm like, how can you not see that? I mean,
Mm,
it's evident. So the sense of perspective to me more holistically defines
yes.
leadership. If you don't have a sense of perspective,
Yeah.
I think that's managing, that's not leading.
Wow.
So I don't suggest everybody go to a combat zone to have your sense of perspective dramatically changed,
Yes.
but it
Yes.
sure did for me in a good way. It changed who I am it changed everything about me, that experience in
Wow.
Afghanistan.
That, that is really something. And definitely, I can say, without doubt, in my experience, the military is probably the most diverse organization in
Hmm.
the world. You get kids from all over the place on different town, background, skills, gender, and
Yep.
everything else. And you learn to work together. In my case, as sailors, in your case, as soldiers, and we pretty much become one team, right?
Hmm.
Regardless of our differences. And also the other thing that I said in the military we do so well, the industry doesn't do it very well, is we are pretty much an apolitical organization. I actually know a few senior leaders in the military, they even refuse to vote as a citizen because they just
Yep.
don't want to mess with uh, politics. It is really amazing to me how different people from different background or even political persuasion again can come together, focus on the mission,
Hmm.
and care for one another. You care for the soldier, the sailor to your right and to your left, and
Yep.
it is just there is really nothing in the world like it. Like even now, it's been 20 years now, 20 and a half years. I went to boot camp. I still have friends from that time in the service today. It's just incredible. Was your experience similar?
Yes. Yeah. And we knew there were two taboo topics, religion and
Yes,
politics. But in the intensity, in my years of service, it was never you never had to be reminded of that.
yes, yes.
It just didn't fit the fabric of the mission. And and I got out in 1995, and so I experienced when I was in command the "don't ask, don't tell" policy.
Hmm.
And soldiers are going to say stuff, and
Yes.
everybody gets it off their chest, and you work it into the cadence on the morning run the next
Hmm.
morning. But what I so happily took away from that, it was a thing for a minute,
Yes.
and no soldier cared. They're
Mm.
like, you know what? I don't care who's beside me in the cockpit of the MLRS launcher when we're firing at Grafenwehr. I don't care.
Yes. Yes.
Honestly, I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you're black. I don't
Hmm.
care if you are, Latin.
Yes.
And but it was fundamental, BZ. It was not. You didn't need a conscious reminder. Okay, guys, that's the wrong thing to think. You
Yes.
just didn't care.
Yes.
You
Yes.
absolutely didn't care. It was like if it was raining before PT, you didn't care. You went out and ran. It just
Yes.
wasn't a thing. So I hope our ranks retain that resiliency and
Mhm.
objectivity. And I think never more than now. And when I addressed the cadets at Bama during the commencement ceremony, I made a point of that.
Yes.
That you got to remember your oath of office, and
Mm.
your responsibility is to your soldiers
Yes.
and mission accomplishment, and it has nothing to do with politics, religion, or any other distraction.
True.
You're there to
Wow.
perform a mission. So I hope I hope that doesn't fade.
No, that is so powerful. It's really who we are as service members. So let me at least briefly speak
Mhm.
about your first book,
Yep.
Proclivity. It's more intuitive than you think. Resist making it hard. So in the book, you really explore the role of intuition in decision making. How do you think leaders should balance data, analytics, and intuition when making difficult decisions?
Yeah, that the book Proclivity is many will know what the word means is your natural tendency. It's already
Mhm.
who you are. And the more I talk to the students at Alabama, that's the reason I wrote that book.
Yes.
Was one of my mentees said, you're so powerful, but you're saying the same thing in every class. So you have a message you're trying to get across, and what is it? And my message is,
Mm.
yeah, crappy things happen to people when they're childhoods, and we've all got stories. But at the end of the day, it's who you are that's going to propel you, and it's going to be those things that are fundamental. The
Yes.
way I was raised, carry a good name. Now today we call it what's your brand and all this. It's reputation. Um,
Mm.
and the message is that perseverance and discipline, you can pretty much overcome anything. But again, it's back to that authenticity of a leader. And I challenge the students, what is
Yes.
one characteristic that you cannot be taught
Mm.
of a leader? And it's to care. You can learn business metrics, how to read a P&L. You can learn formations, tactics,
Mhm.
battle books, but you can't be taught how to care. And soldiers know that, as you well
Yes.
know. They
Yes.
can pick that up in a leader in a nanosecond, whether this guy
Mm.
really cares about me or if he's just here.
Wow.
And so that authenticity of empathy, and I know it's a squishy term and people are like, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm like, no, dude, you call it what you want, but if you don't care
Yes.
about your people, you're going to fail. At
Yes.
some point, you got to write the check. So,
Mm. That is so powerful, so simple, but so powerful. And it seems to me like the biggest difference with those leaders who are quite effective and those who are not, they all understand this simple principle, but it's really in the execution, I think. Do
mhm,
you agree?
100%.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wow, incredible. Because I do a lot of leadership development classes and training, and many times when I speak, people are like, I already know that. I mean, just know, I don't have to be. I'm like, well, if you knew it, you wouldn't be. If you knew it, you would be doing
Yeah.
it.
You'd
So
be
until
doing it.
you show it to me that you
Yeah.
actually do it, then you really do not know it.
Yeah.
Maybe you may know it like intellectually, or say, "Yeah, that's a good idea, I've heard it before," but until you actually put it in practice every day,
Mhm.
I feel like no, you really don't. Uh, Let's see. The general says, busy people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. That is so
Amen.
true. And I think I've heard Oprah say that, and also her mentor, Maya Angelou. Actually, my primary mentor, John Maxwell, says that too. And that is so true. But really, when it comes to leadership, really at its essence, it seems to me like it's really about people, the
Mhm.
way they feel, the way you make them feel, and how you lead them. And then everything else is just kind of extra, isn't it?
My definition of leadership, so my journey as a second lieutenant, as all of us go through, we mature over time. Your
Yes.
perspective grows, you settle down, you're not the over caffeinated, screaming every time your mouth opens, you're screaming.
Mhm.
That was pretty much me up until I got to Fort Sill. So
Yeah.
as a battery commander, and Desert Storm 1 was going on during my first
Yeah.
command. We transitioned to MLRS. Um, one of the most powerful lessons, and he's a friend to this day, my battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Mark Gay, West Point officer, razor sharp.
Mm.
And we were out in the motor pool or something. He came up and said, hey, Captain Elverston, how is Private so-and-so's wife doing?
Huh.
And I had 167 soldiers. So I'm like thinking to myself, first of all, who the hell is Private so-and-so? And I didn't know
Yes.
anything about this, but I stumbled through it. He knew I didn't know. But the point, and I remember, what was
Mm.
this, 30 some odd years ago,
Yes.
he taught me something in that brief passing in the motor pool.
Mm.
You're missing it, Captain Elverston. It is,
Yes.
yes, it's about readiness. Yes, it's about mission accomplishment. Yes, it's discipline. All
Mm.
those things I was doing really well,
Yes.
but clearly I didn't have my arms around the real metric of
Mm-hmm.
leadership, which is what is going on with those soldiers. So I remember that, and I've talked to him about
Wow.
it. He's in my first book because he was so powerful in my early development. Um,
Yes.
so I
Wow.
wasn't always that person, It was
That is
you
powerful.
learn.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something General Beagle did teach me, and it is so true, and I believe so essential, right? When he says, rank is rented, but trust is earned. And if we could do that, understand that whatever rank we have, whether you're a vice president, an executive, a C-level
Mhm.
executive, or whatever it might be, you're not going to be that for the rest of your life. It's just going to be for a very short period of time.
Well, remember Colin Powell when he was on the
Yeah.
platform, and one person asked him quickly, something to the effect of what makes a great leader, and he didn't
Yes.
hesitate a nanosecond.
Yes.
Trust.
Yes.
I mean, it was boom.
Wow.
And then he goes into the narrative, but it gives me goosebumps right now listening to that
Yes.
guy say that. And
Mm.
he's, of course, precisely right. If your troops don't trust you, dude,
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
Yes.
You
Just
may think you're going to get promoted, but it ain't happening.
yes.
The
Yes.
soldiers decide your career path.
Wow. And sometimes it takes quite a long time to earn that trust, but then you can do
Sure.
something silly and lose it just like
Uh-huh.
that. What do you think, especially in high impact environment, not just in the military, but sometimes even in the industry, when you have to build that trust in a short amount of time? What do you recommend leaders do?
To build trust,
Yes, in a
you
short
have to have,
period of
yeah,
time.
predictability and behavior.
Yes.
So I don't need you good Monday and Tuesday, and then you can come in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and be somebody different. And
Yes.
sure, that's discipline. But to me, trust is one of those absolutes that if it's violated, it's like it takes you your lifetime to
Mm,
create a good reputation and three
yes.
seconds to destroy it.
Wow.
And one of my, well, not one of, probably the leading discriminator for me in any business to this day is trust. If I
Mm,
suspect something's not 100% or somebody gives me reason to not trust them, I
yes.
am out.
Wow.
I I never had that challenge in the army. I had
Mhm.
leaders that, made you get out of bed in the morning and you just would walk through fire for them, and then you had other leaders that didn't. But I
Yeah.
never questioned trust or
Mm,
character in uniform.
wow.
Civilian world's different.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
what you do every day to
Yes.
earn that trust.
That is really, really, really powerful. And one thing I would add with predictability, in my experience, the senior leaders that you would follow, I would say, to the end of hell and back,
Mhm. Yep.
people, they may have very high standard and they are tough, which is perfectly fine. But like you say, they are predictable. And part of their predictability, I think, is fairness, right? It doesn't matter who you are. They
Mhm.
treat everybody exactly the same, whether you're a
Yep.
man, woman, black, white, they don't care.
That's right.
These are the standard. You're going to meet and exceed those. And if you do, you get rewarded. And if you don't, you get punished. Because when somebody else looks in the unit, in the command, yeah, this person means business and they are always consistent with their values and what
Mhm.
they say matters. Because there are a few leaders in my life when they speak is like they're just wasting time. I don't believe a word they say because what they say and what they do, two completely different things. I interviewed a couple of people, mostly senior enlisted. They tell me about it's like I'm playing a tape and the track doesn't match what I am
Yeah.
watching on the screen. So I think really that character integrity and being aligned with what you say and what you do will go a very long way to building
It
that
feeds
trust.
your culture.
Yeah.
So in my first command, it was I was given that command for a reason. My battalion commander told me, and you got to clean it up.
Mm,
And so that was my mission first 90 days. And we out processed, I don't know, probably a dozen soldiers that just were not designed to be there. But more importantly, it only took that small subset for the rest of them to say,
mm,
okay, this is different.
yes.
And I don't want to go home. So I need to drink one less beer on a Friday night or whatever. But that establishes the culture. So the
Yes.
soldiers, 6 months into it, my battalion commander is like, wow, the energy with those guys, just watching them run PT in the morning
Yes.
with you when it's snowing, and
Yes.
going to the range and calling alerts and
Mm,
all of those hard things we did routinely. That was the culture. And a
wow.
culture, in my mind, a culture is no different than a reputation. You can screw it up with a bad leader.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
contaminate 170 soldiers with choosing the wrong leader. But if
Mm,
you have the right leader, somebody like a General Beagle or a Powell or a Petraeus or McChrystal,
hmm.
Schwarzkopf, you name it, it's infectious.
Yes.
And I was
Wow.
really lucky in my active duty years. I had some superb senior leaders that what do we call it now? Imposter syndrome. I'm like,
Yes.
there is no way in hell I will ever aspire to that.
Yes. Yes.
But you come into your own, and yeah, culture absolutely matters, and it is not a
Wow.
slogan on the wall, as we know.
Man, leadership does matter. Wonderful. Okay, I see that we have about 4 minutes left, but you said you can give me a little bit more time,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Okay, so let's get into the final, the last segment of the show. I try to
Okay.
get into your head and really understand the leadership principle that have helped you be successful. To get started, maybe can you tell us what is the greatest lesson you have ever learned, whether it's in leadership, in life, or in general?
As I tell the cadets at Alabama, don't make the mistake I did in not getting into role immediately when I
Mm,
pinned on 2 LT bars. I
yes.
didn't really professionalize and get into role until I pinned on railroad tracks or captain.
Mm,
And I regret that. I would pass the PT test. Yeah, I did everything, but I wasn't a
yes.
standout. And I
Mhm.
was looking back on that, I was much better than that.
Yes.
I could have been a much better junior officer. And the Army has a long memory, as we all know. So, and I changed when I pinned on those railroad tracks at Fort Lee, Virginia. I was on TDY before going to Germany, and I had a talk with myself in the mirror. I'm like, party's over, dude. You have to grow the hell
Mm,
up. Stop trying to be people's friends. You are a captain. You're probably going to be a commander. And
yes.
when you walk out of this building, you're going to be saluted by other officers.
Mm,
And when I made the decision to get out after I got my MBA and go to Walmart, I did not repeat that mistake. I went after it like a wild man,
wow.
learning everything I could, taking, training manuals home on the weekends and typing
Yes.
my own notes and mastering that. So my biggest mistake, I didn't get into roles soon enough because I didn't think it was going to be a career, and it could have
Yes.
been.
Wow.
Uh, but that's what I tell the cadets. Look, go after this like it's your life.
Yes.
Soldiers deserve it. So they deserve solid leadership.
That is quite insightful, man. And for those who are not in the military, so going from second lieutenant to captain, that's about 4 years on average
Yep.
for most people. Second lieutenant, first lieutenant, and then captain. So you are still a junior officer, but definitely having the double track, either on your collar or your shoulder, it really means something.
Hmm.
And wow, powerful. So what do you think is the secret of your success, not just in the U.S. Army, uh, coming out as a major, and
Hmm.
and then also what you did at Walmart as an executive, which is, I guess, a Fortune 100 company,
Yeah.
and then now you have your own consulting firm.
Hmm.
Why are you so successful in life and business? You think?
One word, my mom.
Mm,
You know, I, so she, we had very difficult circumstances, single parent household. I won't get into the details, but it
yeah.
shaped who I am in terms of perseverance. And I'm a
Yes.
baby boomer, so there was no such thing as a PowerPoint presentation at dinner that night of here are the things you need to do to excel
Mm,
tomorrow. My mom carried herself. I don't know how she did it.
wow.
I honestly have no idea. And I consider myself a very strong willed person. But
Yes.
my mom hard coded in me, number one, we called it back in the day, have a good name.
Hmm.
And when we were teenagers, if we tapped the guardrails, she might have been a Southern Belle, but dude, she
Yes.
would light you up
Yes.
and get us back on. So the values of,
Mm,
the character, integrity, having a good name, and
wow.
discipline, uh, she hard coded that in me. And so I have her number one to
Well,
thank. And I've had great leaders over the years and influential people and
yes.
mentors, sure. But it started hard
Mm,
coding when I was a child, like most people. That's the
yes.
proclivity. You are who you are when you grow
Wow.
up. So yeah, thanks to mom,
Amazing.
they don't make them like that anymore. And she epitomized
Yes.
decency and perseverance. She was one hell of a woman.
Wow. That is true legacy. Because sometimes if you just leave money or wealth to your kids, you may actually make their
Ah,
life much more difficult. But when you have a sense of duty, character, and integrity, you really set them up
100%.
for life. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So I know that leaders are learners. What type of things are you learning these days?
Geopolitics is my refreshed interest. Triangle of Power by the Finnish president Alexander Stubb. About
Mm-hmm.
halfway through that on the flight over to Germany, visited. Every time I go to Germany, I go there 2 times a year. I always do something World War II.
Mm.
And I measure against my impressions as a young, motivated battery commander captain right after the wall came
Yes.
down. I have very different feelings today, and my sense of curiosity is much stronger.
Mm.
So I like to read about the complexities of the global landscape
Yes.
because, for many years we took a lot. I hate to say it, but for granted.
Mm.
We were the big cat in town. We had the Russians in check. China really wasn't a thing.
Yes.
And the world order was democracy, if you will.
Mm.
And much like the theme of my second book, how in the world did we get here?
Yes.
I find a lot of solitude and self-reflection in works like from
Mm.
President Stubb. Um, so yeah, geopolitics is my refreshed
Wow.
passion of the last 10 years or so.
So powerful. When you are in Germany, if you have time to go to Paris, France, I would highly recommend you go to the Suresnes American Cemetery. It's really crazy because I am originally French Congolese. I've gone to France so many times, but I've never thought about going to the American cemetery. You're gonna see not just World War II, but World
Yep.
War One, veteran too. I mean, it's going to make you cry and really make you reflect so deeply about the role of America in the world and just the sacrifice and the goodness of all of those great American patriots and heroes.
It's a
It's
very
really
different feeling now
yes.
as at my age
Mhm.
than a 30-year-old battery commander at the end of the Cold War.
Yes.
I was amped. I thought hot dog, I played one little sliver in this whole 80-year journey
Yes.
uh, to bring in an end to communism, blah blah blah.
Yes.
Um, and then here we are. And
Wow.
when I stand at Brandenburg Gate, for example, or last week or this weekend at Dachau,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I just pause and
Yes.
think, how number one did this happen, and what
Mm.
path are we on today? So
Yes.
I love that stuff. Great
And
comment.
insightful. Now, we talked a lot about your successes. What about failure? How has failure shaped your life?
Well, one I already mentioned, not being in roles soon enough, not being professional and giving it my all. That was a huge mistake professionally for me, but I corrected it going to Walmart. Failure is such a harsh word.
Hmm.
Um, sure, I've got, as all of us do, plenty of things that I'm like, what a
Yes.
dumbass. Why did I do that? Um, and I take pride in this, but I've had other people ask, how did you never make vice president at Walmart?
Hmm.
And I'm like, number one, I didn't care. That to me is not a goal. That's shallow, if you ask me.
Hmm.
Uh, and it mattered more to me the quality of the leadership I worked for and the job I had. Did I make a difference? And the answer to that for 22 years, with few exceptions, was yes.
Yes.
Great leaders, and I had a broad reach of all the United States and strategy
Mm.
development and stuff. So, in that scope, of course, there were mistakes. But yeah, I think it was Colin Powell. To paraphrase, once is a mistake, twice is a problem.
Yes.
And
Yes,
I
indeed.
never repeated the second thing twice. And I cover a lot of that, BZ, in my first book, because that's more
Yes.
of a personal accounting
Hmm.
of overcoming. It's not as corny as overcome adversity, but it
Yes.
is. But it's a true life of me being transparent and willing to share my. It's like General McChrystal.
Hmm.
I mean, come on, how do you get any better than that? And he
Yes.
openly shares he was damn near thrown out of West Point
Yes.
because he was not an academic performer. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that is a refreshing
And
humility.
also pretty much publicly fired, but now look at everything he's done. Now he's really changing our
Exact. Well,
culture.
same thing with
And
Petraeus.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know. So yeah,
legendary.
failures, but I take more pride in.
Incredible.
Yeah, there they are, Petraeus and McChrystal.
Yes. My heroes. It's wow. That is really quite powerful, because the truth is we are all human, and at some point we are going to fail. But can you learn from
Hmm.
your mistakes, stand
Yeah.
back up, and make a difference? And these two, I call them living legends. Now I don't care what people say; they have
Yeah.
shown us the way, and it's really
Yeah.
powerful. Wow. Okay. So if you could choose three people to have dinner with, who would you choose and why? They could be alive, dead, or even fictitious characters.
Well, I've mentioned him 100 times already. I think Colin Powell. And
Yeah.
dude, I was genuinely sad
Yeah.
when the announcement came of his passing, because somewhere in my head I thought,
Yeah.
my in-laws live up there in McLean, Virginia. Maybe I'll
Mhm.
run into him somewhere and just it'll be like,
Yes.
oh my God.
Yes.
So yeah, uh, Colin Powell, Ronald Reagan.
Hmm.
Have a chance to sit down with Ronald Reagan,
He really was a great
and
communicator, wasn't he, President Reagan?
oh yeah, well he mattered to me. I came on board when Reagan took office. I
Wow,
commissioned in '84, and
amazing.
then the Honorable John McCain.
Yes, John McCain, American hero.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Wow.
everybody says, well, okay, those are three other guys, but that's my answer.
Yes. Yes.
I would stand to be profoundly a better
Mm.
person spending an hour talking to those guys.
That is really powerful. I know President Reagan. I wasn't in the U.S. yet, but I knew no, President Carter was president at the time, and really the morale in the country was extremely low. No, the price of
Mhm.
guys, long line everywhere. Iran had a bunch of hostages, and no, people just didn't feel good about being American. But with his language, his poetry,
Yeah,
President Reagan was able to just raise the morale of an entire country. Thinking of America like that city on that hill, and going back to our aspiration, it was very, very, very powerful. And of course, I believe he's really one of the few people who ended the Cold War. But for some reason, I don't think he got all of the recognition
right.
for what he did. But I think Gorbachev, right? He got the Nobel Peace Prize, but
Yep.
they forgot about Reagan. I wonder why. So anyway, maybe that's just politics. But he definitely had a huge, huge impact on our life, America, and history. It's
Courageous leadership.
yes,
He
yeah,
had all the reasons in the world not to do it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I admire courage.
When it says, yeah, I think I was talking to President Gorbachev, right? Uh, Tear down that wall. That really
Yeah.
changed history. It's incredible. And then you mentioned McCain, who was, I believe, a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy and prisoner of war. Even when he ran for president, one thing I really miss about him and the moment we are in today in America, he says, country before party. And
Hmm.
that is so powerful. First and
Yeah.
foremost, we are American and American first. And then everything else, our disagreement and all of that is secondary to that. And I just feel like our country right now, we are more tribal, more
Oh, sure.
politics, and
Yep.
it's really hurting us in the long run. But yeah, people like that, I think people need to study them, and it's who we are, I believe, at our core as American.
We're better in my mind after 10 days in Germany, and I love having those geopolitical conversations.
Yeah.
And without getting political, all of the
Mhm.
messages were the same
Yes.
about what is happening in America. And what I it almost brought tears to my eyes. An older German, he got very animated, and
Mm.
we hadn't had but one beer, so it wasn't that. And he's like, in his broken English, he said, "You Americans," and I thought, "Oh hell, here we go." He said, "You Americans came over here, kicked the Nazis' ass, and gave us what we have today,
Mm.
and here we are." And I'm
Yeah.
not comfortable with we gave them. I mean, the British were there, as we well know, and there are a
Yeah.
lot of other players.
Yes.
Yes, you could distill it down. Had the U.S. not, actually manned
Hmm.
up, it may have had a very dramatic, different turnout.
Yes.
But I find that the Europeans have a better sense of history because
Mm.
he was adamant. He was older, and
Yes.
it's like you guys gave us democracy,
Mm. Man.
and I think you are trivializing that now,
Yes.
today, on the
Yes.
world stage. And I'm like, I don't disagree, buddy.
Wow.
So
Powerful.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
because when I think of that time now, again, I am originally from French Congo, so I am Congolese African by birth, French by culture, and American by choice. But when I look at France today, right, if it wasn't for the US, they'd be speaking German right now. But
Yep.
it's just amazing how we went there. No, we pretty much literally saved Europe, but we didn't try to pillage their country, take their wealth, or anything like that. All we asked for is just small piece of land, like I
Yep.
said, the American cemetery in Paris, just to bury our dead.
Yep.
That's it, and that is really, I believe, what makes America great. That is our greatness: the way we serve, we sacrifice, and we stand for our friends. And there's just nothing like it. And I refuse to believe we are anything but that. So
Yep. It's
it's
our
the mindset.
proclivity. I mean,
Yes.
we go through good times and bad times, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I mean, we were the architects of the world order after World War II, and I
Yes.
do not subscribe to when people
Yeah.
tell me it's a different world today. It's not like that anymore. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Leadership has changed, is what you're telling me.
It's,
No,
it's
it doesn't.
really insightful because 80 plus years of peace,
Yeah,
prosperity, and yeah, what America has done for the world is just been beyond belief. But
yeah.
anyway, so I don't need to lend this, man. I've already used too much of your time. But let me ask you: in addition to your own books, which book would you recommend my audience read?
Right now, it's Triangle of Power.
Mm,
And I say, let me give you two books. Triangle of
yes.
Power for the broader geopolitical landscape from Alexander Stubb.
Mm-hmm.
Eloquent speaker, smart as hell, deep roots in diplomacy and statehood.
Yes.
But I'm going to put right next to it, not because he's listening, but General Beagle's book, When
Yes.
the Map Runs Out. So for transitioning veterans who too often try to do a direct translation, I was an infantry platoon leader, or I was a surface warfare
Yes.
officer. It
Yes.
does not translate. What translates of what those skill sets you already take for granted, which is
Mm-hmm.
discipline, character, brevity, specificity, all these things that I'm
Yes.
going to say it, Biggs talks about, General Beagle.
Yes.
Uh, I would say if you're looking at transitioning or you just want to be a better leader, it's a quick, fluent
Absolutely.
read. And so I would say those two different books,
Mm-hmm.
Finished President and our friend General Beagle. Yep,
That
there
is
it is. Triangle of
powerful.
Power.
Yeah. And then
Awesome read.
since you've worked at Walmart for so long, I think people need to read Made in America.
They
It's
do.
quite powerful. And of course, you also mentioned one of my primary mentor, General
Yep.
Colin Powell,
Yep.
My American Journey. That would really make you think. And that's really what I love about books, right? Even though he is no longer with us, it yet speaks, it yet
It's
teaches
timeless.
through his books and everything he has taught while he was here, and still can have an impact. That's really legacy. Okay, so is there maybe a song, a book, or a movie that would be your life's theme or anthem?
Um, Song, book, or movie? Well, my favorite movie is Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. Exactly.
The first half, of course.
Yes.
A book, gosh, dude, I read a lot. I would go by author, and it would be any one of Powell's books
Yes.
because they shaped me at a very vulnerable time as a young battery commander when Lord
Mhm.
knows, I needed shaping.
Yes.
So he was very influential in my life, reading and songs. Dude, I listen everything from Pitbull to Pavarotti. It depends
Mhm.
on my mood. If I'm going to the
Yes.
gym, it's more Pitbull. If I'm, having a gin and tonic on a plane, it's Pavarotti.
Yes.
Um,
Powerful music.
so no real songs. It just depends on my mood. But
Yes. And I believe General has written two books only. It worked for me, both of them number one New York Times
yep.
best-selling book,
And
and
his
of
Leadership
course my
Secrets of Colin
American.
Powell. I don't know what year that came out,
Yeah, that
but
was beautiful
he
talking about him. Yeah, powerful.
awesome guy.
Wow, powerful, powerful. Okay, if you had one and only one day to live, Major, what would you have liked your final contribution to be?
Paying it forward.
Hmm, powerful.
I, people ask me, career success, and doing well in consulting.
Yes.
I get my thrills on campus talking to those young kiddos who I will say
Hmm.
they are awesome. I've been doing this for 9 years now, every semester.
Wow.
So, I go back to my mom, her sacrifices for getting
Hmm.
me through college when she didn't have two nickels to rub together,
Yes.
teaching me everything that made me a man, not
Wow.
that I carry today. So it's the opportunity to pay it forward. If I had one more day, if I
Mm.
could help one young person make a better decision and help change their life, dude, I'd take that over a $10 million check.
Wow. So
Paying it forward.
let me ask you this: all of the work you do, especially with my alma mater, no, University of Alabama, go all tide all. Uh,
Roll.
really, really great student there and very diverse campus. I was a student there from '96, and then I almost got a PhD in 2002. But anyway, great experience. If you had the ear of every student across the country right now for like 60 seconds, what would you tell student to do tomorrow morning?
Study critical thinking.
Hmm, powerful.
I think, when I talk to the students, I'm like, your biggest challenge is not my biggest challenge. I didn't have to worry so much about mis and disinformation and
Hmm.
the ubiquitous toxic media in your face 24/7. I
Yes.
think this generation and the one before, their biggest challenge is going to be
Mm.
managing information and understanding what's real and what's not.
Wow.
And I'm even trying to push to get critical thinking as a core requirement for a bachelor's in arts and
Yes.
sciences at Bama. But
Yes.
as I've learned, things move glacially slow in academia.
Yeah.
It's
Very
painful.
true.
But to me, that is going to be the cornerstone of a survival skill to be able to think truly, think
Absolutely.
critically, and read laterally,
Hmm.
not just vertical, Fox News
Yeah.
or Truth Social
Yeah.
or CNN or whatever. No
Absolutely.
echo chambers. Challenge yourself like I do with the older Germans. I'd rather sit down and have a beer with an older German than the person I'm traveling with because
Yes.
I want to learn something. I want to hear
Mm.
their experience.
Powerful.
So
Powerful.
critical thinking.
So, if you had a magic wand and could solve any problem in the world, what is the one thing you'd like to solve first thing tomorrow morning?
This is going to sound weird, but the capability of how evil humanity can be.
Hmm.
And if you look at animals, dogs, for example, love
Yes.
dogs, not an evil thought in their heads.
Yeah.
And as I again back to Dachau, it's like how in God's name did a human being do this?
Hmm.
It is to be able to change the tolerance for evil in humanity. And it's not this
Yes.
generation or any other particular generation. It's humanity and our capacity for evil.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, all good things need to come to an end. I really enjoyed and got such a great pleasure and honor to talk to you, Major. What can my audience do to add value back to you? Thanks so much for your extra time today on the podcast. Really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Just follow me on LinkedIn. I am active, I engage, and I like civil discourse and disagreement.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah.
it's just been a
Key-
great conversation. I could do this for
yeah.
2 more hours.
Keyword being civil, because I feel like we've
Yes.
lost our
Oh,
civility recently.
absolutely.
Yeah, it is
Everything
okay.
now is a bar fight, and I'm like,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah. And what about for people who may want to hire you and your team?
Everything about me and my business is on LinkedIn profile, including the website you're scrolling through today. But I'm more in the non-traditional risk mitigation space in retail. And I say retail, I'm also
Yes.
working with Los Alamos National Labs. Obviously, that's not retail,
Hmm.
looking at RFID implementation in nuclear weapons production. So
Wow.
several elements of expertise, but largely it's in risk mitigation in retail and for the non-traditional route. If you're looking for
Yes.
what's been out there already, plenty of people that do that, and it
Yes.
isn't me. Um, yeah, I like to push the envelope when it matters.
Outstanding. And I would also say get a copy of these two books for yourself, but also for your teenager or college student. I think that
Absolutely.
could definitely make a big
Yep.
difference. Like the major said, right? Critical thinking is so critical these days.
Yes,
Uh,
indeed.
Yeah, it's almost as if common sense is no longer common. And again, that's part of the reason why I do this podcast. And I'm so grateful for people like you being our master teacher today, because I think the next generation definitely need to hear this and really get back into the right way, which is character, integrity, and service to people. That's really how you lead, in my humble opinion. It's not just about me, myself, and I, and being ambitious and having the car, the houses, and all that. Nothing wrong with it, but you need to learn how to serve, how to add value.
That's
That
right.
is so critical. All right, so we are definitely coming towards the end. If we can maybe just 2 minutes, sir, I will do
Yep.
a lightning round. So give me the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't take too long. Actually, before I do that, is there a question I should have asked you that I didn't get a chance to ask? Anything else you wanted to talk about
You're
today?
very thorough. No,
Thank you.
you're
All right.
very thorough.
So before I get to the lightning round, I want to ask you probably one of the most important questions. You were about, I think, 17, 20 over here. If you could go back in time and give a piece of advice to your 17-year-old self, standing at the edge of this incredible career you've had, not just in the Army, but Walmart, and now your own firm, what would you say to 17-year-old Brand?
Uh, I hate to rehash earlier comment, but get into role, get serious, commit,
Yes.
commit to what you're doing and do your best. And I didn't do that until I was about 25.
Wow. That is powerful, powerful. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if I had just known then what I know now, man, my life would be a completely
Oh, yeah.
different trajectory. But
Oh, yeah. Yep.
amazing. Wow. Okay. All right. Lightning round. One word that defines great leadership.
Character,
Okay. Morning routine or practice that keeps you grounded.
self-reflection.
A book or a quote that changed your life.
Colin Powell's 13 Rules of Leadership.
Okay. Who inspire you most today?
My mom,
Good. A leadership habit you refuse to compromise on.
discipline.
And what is a question every leader should ask themselves frequently?
Am I doing what's right even when somebody's not looking?
Powerful, insightful. Okay, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
FBI agent.
Okay, FBI agent. I guess you joined the military. It's not quite the same, but yeah, I give you credit for that. Bravo.
Yeah.
All right. What about three adjectives describing you as a child?
Uh, well, it's not an adjective, singular, but autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
I I didn't need a lot of static going on around me.
Two more.
Discipline was ingrained in me early,
Mm-hmm. One more.
and integrity. And
Okay.
who was the senator that said, "If you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't
Sure.
have integrity, nothing else matters."
That's right.
I think it was Simpson
That's
years
right.
ago.
Because it is the value that keeps all value no true, right? Because if you don't
Yep.
have it, then nothing matters. So what about as an adult? I have a feeling it's going to be the same thing. Free adjective as an adult.
Um, perseverance, empathy. I
Mm,
developed that trait later on. Genuine empathy
yes.
and perspective. Again, back
Oh,
to
right.
Afghanistan just shattered my perspective in a good way.
Yes. And I always like to end on a very positive note. No, sometimes we talk about some pretty heavy subject on this podcast. So what is one thing you are feeling optimistic about, sir?
America's youth.
Yes.
I get all the negativity and all the boomers and everything we are
Yes.
screwing up. But
Yeah.
I come back from the University of Alabama campus, and my wife even says it. Like, you're in a better frame of mind. I'm
Yes.
like, honey, I take the kids to dinner. I mean, I spend time with them. It's not a
Yes.
PowerPoint, no questions, and I'm back on the jet. I
Yeah.
immerse myself in their conversations, and
Wow.
I'm really encouraged by the quality of youngsters and their suspicion of what in the
Mm.
hell is going on.
Yes. Yes.
And so, yeah, I'm very optimistic about
Powerful. Powerful.
younger Americans. I really am.
That is really a worthy investment into the youth of our country because they are going to be our next leaders, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. That's
So,
right.
very last question, and this is it. What is one word that represents our shared experience on this podcast today?
Veteran.
Yes. Thank you so much. I am so grateful. Major Brand Elverston, you have been our master teacher today. Thank you so much for enlightening us about your leadership experience and example. I really appreciate your time. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
That's something. Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.
All right, everybody. This is it for today. Thank you so much for listening today. And I wanted to remind you tomorrow. Let me see. Today is Wednesday, right? Uh, tomorrow, I think I will go back to what we were doing about leadership lessons from the book of Proverbs. Again, this has nothing to do with religion. We're going to be talking about ancient wisdom and leadership lesson. We're going to be studying Proverbs chapter 17. And then on Friday, I'm going to have two great interviews. One with Dr. John P. Cordell, is a doctor of engineering, a prolific disruptive thinker, and we are going to be talking about his experience and leadership. And then right after him, I will have a great pleasure and honor of speaking with really, I believe, a living legend. She is Vice Admiral Joanna Noonan, United States Maritime Service, and also Rear Admiral from the Coast Guard, retire. Really a credibility-driven leader, a stuff like leadership and strategist. We're going to be talking about command culture and coastline, the leadership journey of Vice Admiral Noonan. You do not want to miss it. I really, truly look forward to that. And again, I want to encourage everybody to get a copy of Proclivity and also Instrument of Ignorance. And of course, the general who owes me now and Brent too a whole bunch of money for promoting his work, but it's just that good when the map runs out. Please get a copy. It has the potential of changing your life. And finally, we are still celebrating Black History Month, so I'm calling it Black History Year now. I feel like 28 days is just not enough. So really quickly, and you can go to my LinkedIn page, and you are going to learn more about that. But basically today, March the 4th, on March the 4th, it was 1921. You can't really read this. Let me make this a little bit bigger. A tragic case of racial terror and mistaken identity. Basically, a white mob lynched a black man, and it was not the person they meant to lynch. Just oops, but of course, they didn't do anything about it. That happened again, March the 4th, 1921, in Baker County, Georgia. A white mob lynched a black man named William Anderson, and they were really looking to lynch somebody else. And the mob later claimed they had mistaken him for another man they were searching for. Okay, and then the second vignette, again, to celebrate Black History Month, and actually Women History Month too. Today we are celebrating the first African American woman to command an Air Force flying squadron, and that would be General Stacey Harris. She's the very first African woman to do so in the United States Air Force. Actually, I think I have a quick video about that to end the show. And thanks again for watching today.
So I had Lieutenant General Stacey Harris. She's amazing. She's pretty great. She was a pilot in the reserves, Air Force Reserves. She was the first of many. She has a long list of firsts. So she was the first Black woman to serve as at the rank of Lieutenant General. She also was the first Black woman to command an operating flying squadron and an air expeditionary group. She also was the first woman to serve as Inspector General of the Air Force, Vice Chief of Staff, and Director of Air Staff. So she has a lot of firsts. So it was funny because I met Lieutenant General Harris when she was Brigadier General Harris. And to see a Black woman in the Air Force as a general officer was something really inspiring to me. She talked about how the Tuskegee Airmen were her role models. They were the shoulders that she stood upon. They came in, the Tuskegee Airmen and the WASPs pinned on her first star. So she always said she had big shoes to fill, and so it's come full circle in that, you know, her shoulders are the ones that we are standing on right now. They laid the foundation in which we are walking in right now. Big shoes to fill. And she always reminded me to, no matter what you're doing, do your best. And that is how she got to become a 3-star general. Whether it was being an augmentee as a reservist at many different levels, just being her best, being able to advocate for the total force, which includes the guards and the reserve. That was one thing that she highlighted most is the total force. She is the definition of a civilian airman, a citizen airman. So when, if there is a crisis that happens, they're the ones that, you know, they put aside their everyday duty, no matter what they are doing, maybe being an airline pilot and maybe an engineer. They put that aside, put on their uniforms, and go and help. They serve. And so that was one thing that she brought up a lot, is that, you know, the reserve and the guard are there, and to use them wisely and to bring them in as much as possible. It's not just active duty.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.